But the sector that we really need to be looking towards is the 9 new proposed oil by rail terminals across the state of Washington. We've got 3 trains coming through Seattle every week right now. That number would increase if all of those proposals went through to 3 trains coming through the city every single day. The just sheer capacity and expansion of these projects is mind-boggling and terrifying, especially when we look at pictures of the disasters in La Krogh up in Quebec or in Castle in North Dakota, and we think about one of those disasters happening right here in downtown Seattle.
Must be strong, not obey. Say clearly we fear for our lives. In the present and then, for our kids and their kin. Keep all that oil in the ground.
We don't need to wait for a disaster to happen in our city to take action. We can take action in front. Beyond just the public safety issues, which are critically important, the climate issues are equally important. You know, whether these trains explode in our city or move on somewhere else where the carbon reaches the atmosphere, we are facing crisis levels in our atmosphere, and we can do something. And so I'm excited that Seattle has the opportunity to join Spokane and Bellingham to work with the state and other communities around Washington State to be leaders in oil trains and climate solutions. So thank you all so much. I look forward to hearing from you all in public comment. If you have ideas of how we can make this resolution stronger, we will be listening to that too. See you in a few minutes up there.
How many oil trains do we want coming through Seattle?
None.
How many fracked oil trains do we want coming through Washington State?
None.
What should we do with all that fracked oil from North Dakota?
Put them in the ground.
With the tar sands from Alberta?
Keep it in the ground.
That's right. Keep it in the ground. Now we're going to hear from Aji and Adonis. They have a song they composed for this occasion.
Please don't send exploding trains while cities we don't think that people dying is pretty. So let us be not the first but the many to tell you how we feel. We're sick of money, we're sick of gain. You put lots and lots of people and lots of pain. You put the laws on the line for your profit, that's a crime, and we don't think that that's fair. Please don't send exploding trains while cities we don't think that people dying is pretty. Think about the future generations. Think about the lives they live. Think about our children's 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 children. Think about the future generations. Think about the lives they live. Think about our children's children's children. What to them do you give?
My name is Matt Krogh. I came down from Bellingham today on the Amtrak, which I'm happy to say was not delayed by any coal trains or any oil trains. And we can't say the same for wheat trains and Amtrak across Canada and across the northern part of the U.S. But trains are important, and what the City of Seattle is doing here today is important. Joining Bellingham and joining Spokane and asking for critical safety components to understand what's actually at risk, what risk we are being subjected to by these oil trains. Every day in America, on average, a train derails. Over the last 6 years, we've seen a 40-fold increase in crude by rail being transported in America. That means for the last year, we've seen 1 to 2 derailments every month with explosions and spills of crude coming from the Bakken field and coming from Alberta. That's a real problem. It impacts our communities, and we deserve to know what's in these trains. What this oil is going into cars that are substandard. Just about 80% of the cars used to transport crude in America are old and outdated and prone to corroding. This is what we're talking about bringing through Seattle 3 times every day if all these terminals go forward. But it's not just about the trains. We have an opportunity to ask for a statewide moratorium on permitting these terminals. If we don't permit it, they can't build it. If they can't build it, the trains don't come. It's that simple. So I'm hoping to ask the City of Seattle, the City Council, to ask Governor Inslee and Commissioner Goldmark to have a moratorium on new permits for every one of these terminals until we can understand the risks. And it's not just trains. Every one of these trains goes to a terminal. Those terminals serve ships. We're talking about a huge increase in tankers and the Puget Sound, a huge increase in oil spill risk. We're talking about oil spill risk along the Columbia River and Puget Sound on the coasts. Seattle doesn't deserve that. Washington doesn't deserve that. We need a moratorium on permits for all new terminals. Finally, there's one thing that's happening in the state legislature. It's important. The Oil Transportation Safety Act will help make sure that all of Washington and all of our communities know what's really at risk, that we're notified of what kind of explosive or sinking crudes are in these cars. So we can support Representative Jessen Farrell today in the legislature, call up and support her Oil Transportation Safety Act. So if we don't permit it, they won't build it, and if we don't build it, they won't come. Thank you.
Are we going to let this happen?
No!
Are we going to let this happen? No! Are we going to let this happen? No!
All right. Awesome. So we do have the solutions, we do have the alternatives, like this is showing. We could completely decarbonize our economy in this state with electrified mass transit system and electrified interurban rail and local food production. We could decrease our fossil fuel consumption in the state drastically so that in 10 years we can phase out 4 of the 5 refineries in our state. That is possible. We just have to demand it and make it happen. We can do it. So thank you all for coming here. I hope most of you can come into the meeting, the hearing, and give public comments. And yeah, keep it in the ground.